Imagine you are walking into dense jungle. There is silence all around, not a single person. The air feels heavy, almost unnatural. You hear distant birds, the rustling of leaves, but nothing else. And then you see it. A city. Massive, abandoned, rising out of the jungle like it was never meant to be found. No signs of disaster, no bodies, no clear explanation, just empty structures slowly being swallowed by nature. What if I told you this was once one of the most advanced civilizations on the planet, and it simply disappeared? No final message, no clear ending. Today, we will uncover how the Maya predicted eclipses, why their calendar scared the entire world, what secrets they left behind, and most importantly, what really happened to this civilization. And the answer might not be something you like. The Maya civilization appeared over 3,000 years ago in the territories of modern-day Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras. But it is important to understand one thing. This was not a single unified empire, like many people imagine. The Maya world was made up of dozens of powerful city-states, each with its own ruler, its own army, and its own ambitions. Cities formed alliances, broke them, went to war, and competed for dominance. Power constantly shifted, and no single city controlled everything for long. Despite this fragmentation, the Maya built one of the most impressive civilizations in human history. Their cities still amaze us today. Tikal, Calakmul, Chichen Itza were not just settlements. They were massive urban centers with tens of thousands, sometimes even over 100,000 inhabitants. They had complex layouts, ceremonial plazas, towering pyramids, palaces, and observatories aligned with the sky. Roads connected different parts of the cities, and in some cases, even linked distant regions. And here is what makes it even more incredible. All of this was built in the middle of dense jungle, without metal tools, without the wheel as a practical transport technology, without horses or oxen to carry heavy loads. Every stone had to be moved and placed by human hands. Every structure required planning, coordination, and knowledge, passed down through generations. Even today, building something like this in such an environment would be extremely difficult. The Maya were not just builders, they were thinkers. They developed one of the most complex writing systems in the ancient world, using hundreds of glyphs to record history, rituals, and political events. For a long time, this writing remained undeciphered, like a code waiting to be broken. Only in the 20th century did researchers begin to fully understand it, revealing stories of kings, wars, and dynasties that had been silent for centuries. Their achievements in mathematics were equally impressive. The Maya used a base 20 number system, and most importantly, they understood the concept of zero. This may sound simple today, but at the time, it was a revolutionary idea. It allowed them to perform advanced calculations and keep precise records of time. And time was everything to the Maya. They were obsessed with cycles, patterns, and the movement of celestial bodies. The Maya constantly observed the sky, tracking the movements of the sun, moon, Venus, and other planets. Their astronomers could predict eclipses and calculate planetary cycles with astonishing accuracy. This knowledge led to the creation of their famous calendar system. In fact, it was not just one calendar, but several working together: the Tzolk'in, the Hab, and the Long Count. These systems allowed them to measure time in ways that connected daily life, religion, and cosmic cycles. When one major cycle of the Long Count calendar ended in 2012, modern society interpreted it as a prediction of the end of the world. Panic spread, theories exploded across the internet, and people feared a global catastrophe. But the truth is far less dramatic, and at the same time, far more interesting. For the Maya, the end of a cycle was not destruction, it was renewal, a reset. Much like the way we celebrate the end of a year and the beginning of a new one. However, not everything about the Maya was advanced and inspiring. There was a darker side to their civilization. Religion played a central role in their lives, and it demanded sacrifice. The Maya believed their gods maintained the balance of the universe, and that balance required offerings of blood. Human sacrifice was not random violence. It was ritual, structured, and deeply symbolic. Prisoners of war were often chosen for these ceremonies. Some rituals involved extreme suffering. Hearts were removed while the victim was still alive. Blood was offered to the gods, and the events were witnessed by large crowds. To us, it feels brutal and disturbing, but to the Maya, it was necessary. Without sacrifice, they believed the sun might not rise, the rains might not come, and the world itself could collapse. And this brings us to the greatest mystery of all. If the Maya were so advanced, so organized, so deeply connected to their environment and the cosmos, how did their civilization collapse? Around the 8th and 9th centuries, many of the great Maya cities in the southern lowlands were suddenly abandoned, construction stopped, monuments were no longer erected, populations declined rapidly. Within a relatively short period, entire urban centers were left empty. There was no single clear cause. Instead, evidence points to a combination of factors. Severe droughts likely played a major role, reducing water supplies and making agriculture difficult. At the same time, populations had grown large, placing pressure on the environment. Forests were cut down for construction and farming, which may have worsened climate conditions locally. Wars between city-states became more frequent and more destructive. As resources became scarce, conflicts intensified. Trade networks may have broken down, political systems weakened, leaders lost their authority, society became unstable. It was not one sudden disaster, it was a slow collapse. A chain reaction where each problem made the next one worse. Eventually, the system could no longer sustain itself. Some researchers believe the Maya essentially created the conditions for their own decline. By overusing their environment, by pushing their agricultural systems too far, they may have triggered a crisis they could not reverse. Others argue that external climate shifts played the decisive role, and the Maya were simply unable to adapt quickly enough. What makes this story even more fascinating is that the Maya did not completely disappear. When we say the civilization collapsed, we are mostly referring to the decline of the great cities and political systems. The people themselves survived. Today, millions of Maya descendants still live in Central America, preserving languages, traditions, and cultural practices that go back thousands of years. The ruins we see today are not just empty stones. They are fragments of a once powerful world, a world that reached incredible heights of knowledge and creativity, and yet was vulnerable to forces both internal and external. And maybe that is the most important part of this story. The Maya are not just a mystery of the past. They are a warning, a reminder that even the most advanced societies are not invincible, that environmental imbalance, internal conflict, and overextension can lead to collapse. So the next time you see images of ancient pyramids rising above the jungle, remember this: these were not just buildings. They were the heart of a civilization that believed it understood the universe. And in the end, even that was not enough. Subscribe if you want to explore more hidden histories, lost civilizations, and mysteries that still shape our world today.